Here at Paddy Power, we're the home of the Money Back Special, with some incredible offers every single week. Check out the website or app today. Terms and conditions apply. 18 plus begambleaware.org.
Hello and welcome to this Friday Tipping Postcast. I'm Maddie Playle, joining the studio by Tom Collins. We've also got Brendan Duke on the line, as well as James Ryan from Paddy Power. How are you all, lads? What have you got planned over the next coming days, Brendan?
Fairyhouse, I think, Maddie. I'm definitely going to Fairyhouse on Sunday, and I would probably go on Monday and Tuesday as well, yet to be decided.
Okay, hope you can pick us plenty of winners. Before then, James, you're working much like myself.
I am indeed, being here all 3 days over the weekend and all into next week as well, so that'll keep me ticking over. Busy
time. Let's hope we can get some winners. And you're on a racecourse tour.
Yeah, I'm going to Wales for racing for the first time. Fosslas on Sunday should be interesting, and then Chepstow Monday.
Love Chepstow meeting me. We're racing at Musselburgh on ITV tomorrow. We'll go through those. We've got the 150, the 225, the 3 o'clock and the 3:35. We'll start off with the 150, which is the Silver Arrow handicap over 7 furlongs. And James, just run us through those prices, please.
I will indeed. Our favourite in this is Port Swanton at 7-2, Haydock 5-1, Raise Lasad is 6-1, Lake Volta is 7-1, Commander Hand 7-1 and 7-1 Bar.
Yeah, it seems pretty simple to me why they like this Port Swan, formerly with Charlie Hills, but has moved trainers and has seemed to be doing well at this level.
Yeah, he won well first time for Gary Moss last time actually at this course. Quite a few horses ran in that race, and yeah, he got the nice posse on the rail behind the leader and got a lovely run through. He's pretty short though, I think. He's been handed a £3 penalty. The race has been going a couple of years and low draws have dominated, and he's drawn one, I think, again. So, I mean, he's in a perfect position. It's just at the prices, really. I think Hayad, who ran in that race behind Port Swanton last time, finished third. He had a wide draw that occasion, was a bit keen early on as well. He's got a better draw this time out. Lovely weight pull with Port Swanton. He goes well early in the season. I think he's probably the better at the prices.
Okay, and Brendan, what do you think?
Yeah, like you, Maddie, I was finding it very difficult to get away from the Fav. I mean, Lake Volta could have a class edge, but he tends to need his comeback. This race is loaded with pace as well, so the Port can just tuck in from the plot draw and pick them up late. It almost looks too easy. £3 for that win seems very fair to me. I wouldn't like to be laying him at 7-2. I think he'd be the one for me in the race. Okay,
James, do you think he could go off even shorter?
I don't know. It's kind of a fairly open mark. I'd imagine he'll hang around that kind of price. I'm not sure, just the general public will get behind a Gary Moss trained horse when there's the likes of some others in there. But the one I'm going to go for here is Lake Volta. As Brendan kind of said, I'm looking at that kind of class angle. All his recent runs have all been in Class 2 handicaps. This is a Class 3 handicap, and he's been running well in those Class 2 handicaps. Only beaten 2 and 3 lengths. And if you go back to Goodwood last year, only beaten a length by Flaming Spear. And this is the lowest grade that he's running in well over a year. So yeah, he's the one that I'm going to go for here. And this doesn't look the strongest race. And just kind of looking at that race last time out that Port Swanton ran in, I just don't think that was the strongest race in the world. And he could just drop him down in class. He's the one I'm going to go for.
Okay, William Haggis has enjoyed a good couple of days winning the Craven, of course, with Scardo. And he runs a handicap debut, Politicize, in the 225. That's the Royal Mile handicap. Some nice types in this, James.
There are indeed, and Politicize is our 2-1 favourite. On the line is 3-1. Reggae Runner is 5-1. It's 7-1 Bar.
Yeah, this is TC sort of a race that's nicer to get your teeth stuck into, I suppose, with lots of progressive horses in there.
Yeah, definitely. I think Politicize is going to prove a cut above, to be honest. He's pretty short at 2-1. I think he was available quite a lot bigger early in the week. But Haggis is 26 for 82 at Musselburgh, so he's got a really nice strike rate too. Plus £10, 10p to level stakes as well, which you don't often see for Haggis because most of his horses go off reasonably short. Haggis said that he ran terrible on debut, and Haggis doesn't really say the words terrible about his horses, so he was obviously expecting quite a lot, and obviously he won next time out after about, I think it was a 7-day break, won at Newbury, bumped into a good one at Godolphin last time out. It's been gelded since. I don't know if he's going to be, I don't really like backing first time geldings, but he's probably, that? I don't know, I just think it may take a run or two. It's like wind ups.
Okay.
Yeah, I like to back second time out wind ups, second time out after gelding. I think that's the time to catch them right. But he's probably the best horse in this race, and although he's short, I think he'll win.
Okay, Brendan, anything to add?
I thought it was a very difficult race, Matty. I came down to the end of this Coola Forest, 7-1. I thought was a fair price because the race he was third in on his penultimate start at Lingfield. That has worked out really well, that for me. Then went to Southall and finished last at 3. But I mean, horses can get lost in the sands of Southall, so I'll give him a pass for that. And if you did hark back to that run in Lingfield, a mark of 80, looked perfectly well treated off that. So I thought 7-1 was fair.
Okay, and James, have you got fancy?
Similar to Tom there, politicised. Just think he has the potential to be, well in off this mark. He could be a 90+ horse. And after kind of a couple of question marks about Haggis's form at the start of the year, the last couple of days at Newmarket is fairly end of that kind of question mark. If you look at that last race, he was given a £7 penalty to wait. And even though he got kicked out of the way by that Godolphin horse, the third has come out and won a maiden since and is now rated 80, and the fifth has come out and was rated 83. So on that kind of mark, he looks like he could be fairly chucked in.
Okay, we're rattling through these, so we'll keep going with the 3 o'clock. That's the Scottish Sprint Cup handicap. As competitive as you'd expect. James, who heads the market at this stage?
It is indeed, and we're 5 places here, Maddie. And the market is headed by Mockatil at 13-2. Then followed by Sahek at 7-1, A Moment of Madness 15-2, Savalas 8-1, and then 9-1 Bar. But it's a fairly competitive market. They're all heaped together. Yeah,
we know where we stand with a lot of these, but that doesn't make it any easier to figure out, does it?
No, and there's a lot of value in this race, I think, because a few of these horses are having their first start this season and they won't be ready. They'll have like later season targets.
Is that an angle at this stage in the season you want to explore particularly a lot? Or?
Yeah, definitely. There's quite a few that are priced up reasonably short, not necessarily on Saturday, but just across the first month or so of the season that will need the run. Mainly sprinters. Some staying types can go first time out, but like a horse in this, A Moment of Madness, he's an exception as he goes really well first time out every season so far, but he could be too high in the weights. I am scared of him though because he could blitz, and we've seen him blitz from the stalls and not be caught before. I just think there's a lot of pace in the race really. A Moment of Madness is in stall 7, so I'm guessing he's going to lead the charge, and that could set it up perfectly for Captain Colby, who's in stall 6. He's only raced near the pace 4 times in the last 2 seasons. He's normally held up, but when he races on the pace, he seems to run quite a good race. I think he's won 2 and placed 1 out of 4 starts in the last couple of seasons. Course and distance winner last year when beating a good Paul Midgley sprinter. Ground's perfect, and he should be fit after a pipe opener. So I think he's a pretty good bet in this race, especially with first 5 places.
Yeah, he's won a couple of decent sprints in the past, hasn't he, Captain Colby? Maybe it's his time to do it again. James, I'll go to you again before I see Brendan.
Yeah, I'm gonna go for Soldier's Minute. Just again, kind of that kind of fresh, or kind of we know he's fit and well kind of angle. And if you look at that last run when he was 5th in Kempton, like he went way too hard in front, and Timeform have actually given him a sectional upgrade for that because he went so hard and basically everything came from the back when the other horses that were up with him, finished further behind him. So I thought he ran really well that day. And if you look back to that previous start, he's absolutely bolted up. He looked like he could be a real nice horse, and even the way he just went out and finished his race. So the fact that he went so fast the last day, over 6, and he's dropping back down to 5, I don't mind if he goes kind of that fast, and he should be up there close enough to the pace. Still only a 4-year-old, potentially a progressive sprinter this year. I think he should go close. And of course, Keith Dalglish from up the north there in Scotland, this should be a race that he should be targeting. And the fact he was going to bring a horse all the way down to Kempton in the first place arguably suggests that he really liked the horse in the first place. So he's the one I'm going to go for here.
Okay, Brendan, over to you. I'm sure you've had many a moment of madness in your time.
Well, indeed, and A Moment of Madness, he's such a tricky horse because he seems to miss the break every second run, but when he does actually hit the lids, he's very hard to catch. I might have a win-only saver on him, actually, because I do like backing the class angle. So here is my contradiction confession. I'm actually going to chance this Sahek, despite the fact that he's up in grade. I'm not really mad about backing horses up in grade, but he travels so well, this horse. I do think he can cope, and he's going to just sit in off the pace. As Tom said, they're going to go lickety-split here, and I could just see him coming up the stands rail and picking them up late. Powers are really keeping him on side at 7-1, but I can understand why.
We'll move on to the 3:35, which is the Queen's Cup. Now, what does this race have in common with Tiger Roll? Well, Austrian School, he's really fancied for it, and he's actually a half-brother to Tiger Roll, so it's crazy how these pedigrees work out, isn't it? But James, just run us through the prices.
Yeah, and Austrian School is our favourite. Maddie at 9-2, followed by Ulster at 11-2, Making Miracles 7-1, Lucky Deal 7-1, Archer Man 7-1 and 10-1 bar.
Would you follow Mark Johnson at Musselburgh? Do you think he does quite well there?
Yeah, he does all right. I'm not a massive Mark Johnson fan, but he's obviously a fantastic trainer, and he's got plenty of chance in this race. Austrian School's favourite, but he often finds one to beat him every time, and I think it could be a stable companion this time around in Lucky Deal. There's a lot of pace in the race. Austrian School's going to be forward. Ulster basically needs to dominate. He's a plodder. I've been following him on the all-weather, but he's just been done the last few times because he just lacks that change of gear. So I think Lucky Deal can just sit off the pace under Franny Norton. He's fit after an all-weather campaign. He was disappointing last time, but I'm willing to forgive him that. And he's equally as good on turf as he is on all-weather, and I think the fitness edge can make him come out on top.
Okay, so tactically, Tom thinks it could be quite a fiercely run affair. Brendan, would you agree with that?
I would, yeah. It looks to be loads of pace, as you'd expect when Mark Johnson is mob-handed, which I think might play to the strengths of this Pipes of Peace, an improving sort, second in the Rosebery latest, and I thought that run could be marked up as well. It seemed to be a race where it paid to be handy. This is his first run on turf for a while, but he's ex-Aidan O'Brien, and his Irish turf form suggests that won't be a problem. It's his first run at the trip, but not for the first time in the Rosebery. He looked like a horse who wanted to step up and trip. He should get a strong pace to run at from a decent draw. I thought it all added up that he should be a bit shorter than 10-1, so I'll probably have a few quid in him at 10-1.
Okay, so possibly a bit of value there for Brendan. And James, finally your selection.
Yeah, I'm going for Artermon here. He's quite an interesting horse. So during last season, he was very progressive, starting off at a mark of 74 and worked his way up to 90, all over kind of mile 6, 2 miles kind of territory. Then he ran the Old Rowley Cup over a mile 4 and led and just, did too much and it just didn't really suit him that day. I thought it was very interesting that Michael Bell put him up as his handicapper to follow for this year as well. So we're 7-1, but there's 16s out there, which I think is a crazy price, and we'll have to be having some of that now. I think he could go close.
Okay, that's really interesting there. No fear if you are a jumps fan, as we are going to be covering Haydock, so stick with us just after this break.
So, does an each-way bet mean that my horse has to do part of the race in reverse?
Everyone loves a newbie. That's why Paddy Power Games are giving all new customers 60 free spins on daily jackpot games. New Paddy Power Games customers only, one per customer. T's and C's apply. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.
Welcome back to this Friday tipping Postcast. As promised, Haydock is our next port of call. A decent card there tomorrow. The 205 is the Challenger 2-mile hurdle series final handicap hurdle. Cause de Jours is quite an interesting horse in this one, now with Ian Williams, and I think he's likely to be towards the top of your betting, isn't he, James?
He is indeed. He's 5-1, followed by Hijran at 5-1, Cassatal 8-1, Bhutan 9-1 and 10-1 bar.
Yeah, I'm a big Ian Williams fan. He's done a great job with this horse. He hasn't always been the most straightforward, but he's got a good reputation.
Yeah, he's got a good reputation and a lot of ability, but does he want to win a race? I'm not sure. He's been beaten many times when looking like the likely winner, and I'm happy to take him on. To be honest, I don't think Haydock is a betting prospect for me at all. I've had a look at the cards, and Jesus, they're so
difficult to figure out.
Like, every single race is difficult. I think I just sided with Bhutan in this race. I think he's the value bet. He looked very, very good when winning on Flat's debut for Aidan O'Brien ages ago. He beat House of Parliament, who finished third in the St Leger subsequently by 3 lengths that day. So he obviously he was good on the flat, but he must have had a problem because he got gelded and went straight to Joseph. Didn't really show much over hurdles, but then he was campaigned on soft and heavy ground quite a bit, and I think the better going will suit him. He's only run for John Joe twice, pulled up first time behind a horse I really like called Tedham, a stable companion actually, and then finished third in a qualifier for this last time out. I just think he'll improve for that run. He looks well treated and could be the classiest horse in the race.
Yeah, quite an interesting angle there. Brendan, as Tom mentioned, these sort of races can get funny results at this time of year. Is there any way that you think we can sort of combat that and find as many winners as possible now it's nearing the end of the season?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a winner in every race, I understand, Maddie, but I find it hard to believe, like Tom, looking at this card, it's very, very difficult. But I did come up with a selection because I had to. So I came up with this Casa Toll, which I thought looked fairly handicapped. He wasn't quite up to it in the Martin Pipe, although he did travel very well until fairly deep into the race, between the last two, in fact. I think the drop and triple actually suit. And he's about 8-1. He was the one, but you see, I'm not actually sure. I won't be backing him, so it's hard to really believe in a tip when the person who's tipping the horse. Well, how could you have a bet in this race? It's absolutely impossible.
Okay, well, at least we've got your thoughts, and hopefully we can nail our colours to the mast on one of these. James, what do you make of the race?
Yeah, and just also to add, there were 5 places here, so there is that little bit of each way value if people are looking for it. And similar to Tom, I finalised my selection on Bhutan. I just don't think he's fully reached his potential, or more kind of his perceived potential that they thought he did have, especially when he was with Aidan, and then obviously when he started off with Joseph. That run the last day literally looked like he was just qualifying for this. He just kind of edged his way into it and just kind of was happy enough finishing third. And obviously John Joe Jr. taking off pretty much a free £3 as well, so he's the one that I'd end up and sitting up, especially with the 5 places there. I think he'll be hard to see him outside the front 5.
Yeah, great jockey, isn't he, John Joe O'Neill Jr. I think he's destined for the very top. The 240 at Haydock is the Challenger Staying Chase Series final handicap chase. Jewel at Dawn is a horse I was really interested in, these sort of staying handicaps, but he doesn't really seem to have shown his best yet. Good novice form.
Yeah, he's a good horse. He doesn't seem to put it all together. I think he's probably one of the most talented in the race, if not the most talented. And I don't know, but I think he might be the outside of the field, so it could be the value of the race.
Being far too polite then. Who's your fancy?
I mean, I've stuck a pin in the Paddy Pie because that's a phrase I never thought I'd say. Just because he's the most consistent performer. He's a good jumper on the whole. Mainly campaigned over shorter trips, and I think the step up to 3 mile will really suit. He ran a nice qualifying race, went third back in November for this. The winner was Cloth Cap, who we saw run well to finish third in the Scottish Nash. He's probably the most solid horse in the race, and I mean, as Brendan said earlier, it's very tough, and he wasn't going to be back in one of his tips, and I probably won't be backing him, but I think he's the most solid option, as G-Rod would say.
Yeah, I love that from Graham Rodway. The Paddy Pie is certainly consistent. James, I'll go to you next.
Yeah, and our prices for this, the Paddy Pie is our favourite at 3-1, Corenta 7-2, and then Salmons are 5-1, Jewel at Dawn 7-1 with a heap of others, and then 9-1 bar after that. This is a really tricky race. I'm not sure it'll be having a share of any of my wallet. Corenta is still quite unexposed over fences, in good form and goes well on the ground. It was kind of my quick notes on it, but I don't think it definitely is not a strong opinion. Okay,
do you have a strong opinion, Brendan?
Afraid not, Maddie. Ulan Boot has been keeping decent company of late, and in a healthy agent swap, the handicapper has dropped him £2 for a not too bad effort the last day. I thought he was a reasonable price, so Ulan Boot for me.
Okay, at 3.15 it's the Challenger Stayers Hurdle Series final handicap hurdle. A mouthful of a name, and we've got some nice types in here. James, just run us through them. Who's your favourite at the moment?
Trickster is our 4-1 favourite, followed by Django at 6-1, Court Liability 7-1, Faithful Mount 7-1, Ligon Rock 7-1, and then another heap again, very closely matched on 8-1.
Yeah, Brendan, we did a piece in the paper after the EBF final about eye catchers, and I thought Trickster ran a really nice race there. He faded late on, but he went off quite quickly, and he looks the sort of horse to follow. He's clearly progressed.
Oh, that's an interesting angle. I must, because I had that down as a little bit of a disappointing effort, but I didn't look into it closely, No, I don't think I looked into it as closely as you did, in fairness, so I might review my strategy here. The Boar and Bill was the one I ended up on, a model of inconsistency, this horse, but on a mark of 130 look workable, and he's a price, so that's what I'm going to go back and have a second look at Trickster.
Okay, Boar and Bill, a horse I've never seemed to get right. Every time I seem to back him, he seems to lose, and every time I don't, he seems to win. I can't put my finger on him, so Brendan's clearly got more trust in him than I have. You got fancy?
It's impossible, but it's probably going to be my only bet on the card. I like Faithful Mount for Ian Williams. He's got quite a strong hand in this race, although he's got 3 runners, but they're all towards the middle, bottom kind of section of the betting, but I think they've all got a chance. He's a game sort who stays well, probably not helped by a pretty average ride last time out. Tom O'Brien gets aboard this time, and I imagine he's going to be right on the pace, and he sticks his head out, which is one thing I really like in a staying horse. He's on a workable mark as well, based on his last 2 runner-up efforts, so I think he's a very good each way bet anyway.
Okay, nice each way selection, and finally James.
I'm going for a Diamond Fort here. Again, not an overly strong opinion, but I thought he ran well behind a very well handicapped horse in Manuela Warrior in his latest start. He absolutely ploughed through the last, so he was kind of going to run on, and then just Conor Brace kind of sat up on him. I think Conor is a very valuable £7 getting off. We kind of saw that with his talents on Verdana Blue last weekend. This horse has performed very well on good ground before, and that last run was on soft ground, so he's just one that I think, at a price, I think he's 10-1 there. I think he could go close.
Any other fancies?
Yeah, 3. Kempton. There's 2 really nice conditions races. The first at 2:35. There's a horse called Rux Power, and he's trained by Andrew Baldwin and Sylvester D'Souza and King Power own. So we know how well that combination is.
That's all we need to say.
Yeah, exactly.
We
know how well that combination has been going early in the season. It looks a pretty hot race. I mean, Norcia's in it. People fancy Norcia for the 1,000 guineas. Rainbow Heart's in it, who's an Oaks potential for William Haggis. But Rux Power has fitness edge, won really well last time out, and Step Up and Triple Suit. And then the Colts race at 3:10, I fancy Senza Limity for William Haggis, sorry. Dotted up on debut in October, really highly regarded by the yard. He was entered last week, but he didn't run, he got scratched. I assume Murphy's on, and I think he'll go close.
Okay, nice selections. Brendan, seeing as you're out and about this weekend, have you had a chance to look at any of the other cards?
Yes, I did a couple at Cork. One at Musselburgh, Maddie. The 120 in Cork, this Tracker Saga is very interesting. I was in Navan, and he was the talk of the track beforehand, and all the rage and the betting. They sent him off 7-4. Evidently very well regarded. He got quite stewed up in the preliminaries, though, and there was a false start in the race, and he was quite free in the race. I'd say he'll leave that form behind. They obviously think he's a lot better horse than he showed that day, so he could be interesting. The 305 is a 3-year-old conditions race, really interesting race. Decrypt, who you probably remember from running a couple of maidens in the Curragh last year. It's like scorching hot maiden form. Now, we haven't seen him since June, and he's still with his relatively small yard. You would think, based on the form he had, that one of the big boys would have come in to buy him. So I don't know if he's had a problem or what have you, but he's still in the Irish Guineas. If he was strong in the market tomorrow, I'd be interested in him. And finally, the 5:45 in Musselburgh, this Pennsylvania Dutch had a wind operation over the winter. It seems to have worked. Came back in Thirsk and just blew them away from the front. That was over 6 furlongs. But I don't think he'd have any problem dropping down to 5 furlongs. Musselburgh, like Thirsk, is a front runner's paradise. He's a £5 penalty, but they're taking £5 off with the claimer tomorrow. I know that's a bit of a swizz because the jockeys are claiming for a reason, but I like it on sprinters because he's a point and shoot job. Just get the Pennsylvania Dutch out of the traps and he should be winning.
I like that. And James, finally, before we go to the naps.
Yeah, no, I think the lads have kind of said it all, but the Kempton 2:35 again, I'd be going for Rainbow Heart. I think she could be a proper group filly. And I wouldn't be shocked, if they're skipping Newmarket and either went straight to the Curragh or the French Guineas. I thought she was very green first time out. Obviously, she was behind Kabbalah, who's now favoured for the Guineas, and then she absolutely bolted up the next day. Similar to Tom, in the 3:10, I thought William Haggis' Senza Limity, I thought he could be a very decent start. Interesting, after the race the last day, he was saying that he was the workhorse with Scardu, so obviously that'll fairly take on board there, and he might still be a backable price with the James Tate Name the Wind in it, who's also still in the Guineas. Brendan has also took the sails under me here with Tracker Saga. I think this could be a really good horse. I think that was also a very strong maiden. Gerard's horse was fancied, Ken Condon's horse was really fancied that day. Again, Buzzy in the paddock, the experience would really bring him on, and it's ideal that they found an auction race. I think he'll be very hard to beat here, and I wouldn't be shocked if he ended up going for an Irish Guineas and could run quite well. The way he moves, he looks like a proper moving horse, even though he pulled a little bit hard the last day. The 2:30 then in Cork, it's just a really interesting race. The hype horse for the Lincoln, Saltonstall, is back even after running a bit of a stinker there, and he's taken on the Irish Lincoln winner. So I just thought I'd point that out. It's a very interesting race, and one that we're 5 places on. And Decrypt, I think Decrypt could be a really nice horse. As Brendan said there, he shaped really well. Like, he beat Lady Kea, Hillwalker, who's a Guineas Hope, and Cardini, who's obviously rated in the high hundreds. So I just think he could be a proper horse, and I wouldn't be shocked now if Paddy had him fairly right for tomorrow, because he'll want to find out if he is a Guineas horse.
Yeah, indeed, there could be plenty of classic clues on display this weekend, so it'd be exciting to see how those races turn out. Let's get some Saturday naps now.
This will not be beaten.
Difficult cards, but there are winners to be found. Have you got any value for us?
Value, I'd say, well, I mean, it is value. My nap is an each-way nap on Captain Colby in the 3 o'clock at Musselburgh.
Thanks very much. Brendan?
3.35 Musselburgh, Pipes of Peace.
And James?
The 150 Musselburgh, Lake Volta.
Thanks very much. We're going to talk about Fairyhouse. Brendan's going to be there, so he's going to sure to have plenty to say on the grade ones just after this break.
Check out Paddy's Rewards Club. Simply place 5 bets of £10 or more across any sport in a week, and you'll get a free £10 bet the next week. T&Cs apply. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.
So Ireland takes centre stage on Sunday then, and we're at Fairyhouse. We're going to start off with the 250, which is the Irish Stallion Farms EBF Mares Novice Hurdle Championship Final. It's a grade 1. It's been won by some really talented mares in the past. Do you have any betting on it yet, James?
No, not on this one. Not on this one.
Not on this one, no. But, I mean, there's a lot of good horses still engaged. Eagleton du Seuil, who won at Cheltenham, is likely to be popular. I mean, what do you think could end up happening with the market?
I'd imagine she herself and kind of Honeysuckle, I'd imagine, will take up the front two in the market. And I'll kind of end up, I kind of sidled with Honeysuckle, who missed the Cheltenham Festival with a slight setback and comes here fresh. You know, that mare's Novice really set up well for that filly the last day, that she ended up coming late, and Noel obviously gave her a lovely ride. But Honeysuckle will be the one that I'm going for, and still kind of has all the potential that she could really be anything.
Yeah, it was a funny race at Cheltenham, wasn't it, a little bit? But Honeysuckle, I mean, she was a big talking horse before Cheltenham, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was, and I think that Cheltenham race lacked a little bit of depth. I mean, Eglantine du Seuil could be anything, really. We don't really know, but the race didn't look the strongest. I made it between Honeysuckle and Sassy Diva, who...
I liked Sassy Diva, actually.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. They faced each other 2 starts ago. I think Honeysuckle won by 3.5, and there's a £3 pull, so they should be closely matched, although Honeysuckle did win fairly easy that day. Sassy Diva's the value at the price, at the likely prices. Very consistent mare and should run a race. Also, just want to say, I hope Annie Mac runs well. You don't get many English challengers going over for a race like this, and it'll be fantastic if she runs a nice race.
Yeah, we love old Chris Hughes, don't we? No, fair play to him. Annie Mac, really impressive last time out at Newbury. Hopefully she can go well. Brendan, any thoughts on this whole Honeysuckle and Sassy Diva duo taking each other on again?
Well, I'm inclined to agree with James. I think Honeysuckle will just be fav over the mare who won in Cheltenham. I mean, it's a competitive race. You can make a case for 5 or 6 of them. You'd hope it'd be a good race for that kind of money as well. Honeysuckle was my fancy for the mare's Novice in Cheltenham, so I'll stick with her here. And I think it's going to be a 3-1, 7-2 the field race. So I mean, I'd be happy to back her around 3-1.
Okay. And the 425 is the Ryanair Gold Cup Novice Chase. Could Mengli Khan finally get his day in the sun? He's been getting more consistent, I think, as a horse I sort of had a squiggle next to earlier on this season.
Yeah, he's a massive cliff horse for me, and I mean, he's got a huge chance. If he puts it all together, he's going to go very, very close. I've sided with Voix de Rêve, although jumping is a problem. Hasn't completed the last twice, but he's got a huge engine. They were both in Grade 1 contests as well, and he travelled really well on both occasions. I think he can probably make all. Winter Escape is the horse that I suppose could be labelled a dark horse, although he did burst blood vessels last time, which makes him a non-betting prospect for me. I just think Voix de Rêve will make all, and if Mengli Khan looms there at the last, I'll be cursing.
Yeah, James, I think this could potentially be a bit of a tricky race, even though it might not look that way on paper. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm similar to Tom. I'm going for Voix de Rêve, and especially after I saw the prices that the lads have up here on site. So Mengli Khan is our 15-8 favourite, Real Steel 5-2, Winter Escape 3-1, Voix de Rêve 9-2, and Cuba Mania 16-1. I think at those prices, Voix de Rêve I can't see being that price on the day. I think he'll be a good bit shorter. Similar to what Tom said, just the way he travelled the last day, and he didn't have that bad a mistake there when Ruby came off him in Cheltenham, and I arguably could see him finishing ahead of Real Steel that day. So I'm surprised at the gap in prices here. I think he could go close, and I think after Mengli Khan then running in Cheltenham and then Aintree, and again another quick, he could be opposable here, and Voix de Rêve is the one I'm going to come down on. Okay, Brendan, no love for Real Steel.
Yeah, I can see the lad's angle. Real Steel. I'm just not sure how good he is. It's a very tricky race because Winter Escape, I mean, as Tom said, you could almost see the moment in Leopardstown when he burst the blood vessels. I mean, he went from travelling away to just emptying out. and it was very disappointing. But at least there was an explanation. It's just so hard to get away from that effort to give an absolute tar waiting a beating and punches down. It is hard to back up 3-1. I suppose it's pretty tight. I think I'll probably end up backing Winter Escape and hoping that his body holds up, because I think that's clearly the best form in this race.
Yeah, and just because a horse breaks a blood vessel once, I mean, it isn't a nice betting proposition, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to do it again on their next start. So hopefully you'll get a decent run for your money there, Brendan, with Winter Escape. Other races on Sunday, we've got Cork, Fairyhouse, Plumpton, Market Race and Southwell and Foss. Last where you're going to be. Have you had an early look at the card?
Yeah, I haven't. It looks absolutely impossible, although there are 8 or 9 runners in every single one of the races, so it's actually quite a nice punting card. There aren't going to be many short price favourites either. There's just one that I've liked on initial inspection, and that is a horse called Sunday Session, who ran really well on, ironically named.
I was going to say, I'm sure you've had a Sunday Session or two in your time.
Ran really well on first start under rules for Michael Scudamore. Looked very green and didn't really jump great, but he's got plenty of potential and he can beat the perennial loser Volcano.
Okay, Brendan, any other fancies at Fairyhouse?
Yes, I have two, Maddie. The 320 ain't done yet, should I say. This horse is a brilliant jumper. He's one of the best jumpers in training. This is an ordinary race. Now, he won't be a big price, but he'll be winning. And then in the 350, Riders on the Storm, who I backed for the Close Brothers at Cheltenham, unfortunately only got as far as the 5th fence. I was a bit concerned about his stamina that day. I think that 2 miles is his ideal trip. And lo and behold, he gets 2 miles tomorrow in Fairyhouse with 3 pace angles, because he can be a hard horse to settle, but this should be running a good clip. Bury him in behind. He's definitely well handicapped off 139, and I think he'll win as well.
Okay, James, before we move on to the Irish Grand National, the big one, any other fancies on Sunday?
Brendan took the words out of my mouth once again. I think Riders in the Storm is unlucky at Cheltenham, and obviously he was well fancied that day, and I think he'll be very hard to beat tomorrow. Okay, he seems a horse that a lot of people like, Riders on the Storm, so hopefully he can get that win. As I mentioned, it's the Boyle Sports Irish Grand National Chase, 3 mile 5 furlongs. Next, big betting race. A few have come out recently, namely Discorama, the ground, probably not to his liking. Have you had a proper look at the race, James? Yeah, we have indeed, and our market is as this. Any Second Now is our favourite at 7-1, followed by Borough Saint at 8-1, Pair Brown Eyes 8-1, Jury Duty 8-1, and 9-1 Bar. And I've kind of come down on the side of 2A per me here. I just think with this race, running on good ground, it was quite easy to rule out quite a lot of these on the ground. And these, I'm kind of looking for the, on the good ground, I kind of like the classier horses who have experience on the ground, and 2A for me just kind of fits both of those categories for me. I half fancied him in the Ryanair if he was going to go for that, but they skipped that with this in mind. He won the Tri-Tyne over 3 miles, so I don't have a huge question mark over stamina. Obviously beats Sub Lieutenant then, a Grade 2 since, who obviously ran a blinder in the top, and both on good ground. He's still only a 6-year-old. I still think he could have the potential to continue progressing into a proper open graded one horse, and I just think he could run really well here on the ground, and I think the trip will suit him as well.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of 2A per me, so I definitely understand that angle. Tom, what do you think of Any Second Now? Because I don't really, maybe I'm being a bit harsh, but I'm not really a big fan of this horse despite him winning at Cheltenham. I mean, Kilfillan Cross has since let that form down at Ayr, and I just don't really know what to think of him, basically.
I'm not a massive fan either. I think he's going to be, he is pretty short in the market, and I'm definitely going to be taking him on. I don't think, was it 7-1, James?
Yeah, he was indeed.
Yeah, I think 7-1's far too short for a bet in this kind of race. Although on him I should specify, because my selection is actually 8-1, so I should specify him. That is Pair of Brown Eyes. I was all over this horse for the Grand National, and it was a last-minute absentee. Mullins took him out. Obviously being primed for this race, he was favourite for this race last year when falling early on. He hasn't been with Mullins for long, and I just think he's a plot horse. Like, Mullins wants to win these big staying handicaps. Actually, at the start of the jump season, I put this horse up as a horse likely to dominate the staying division. No, he hasn't done that. He put in 2 disappointing efforts on his first 2 runs, but he won really well last time out. The trip's fine, the ground's fine. Townend's aboard, and I really hope he wins.
Yeah, he's definitely confirmed stayer. Hopefully he can win another big one. And Brendan?
Well, a bit of justice there, Maddie. The boy Ryan was able to steal my thunder, because I would completely agree with him with 2A for me. I couldn't add anything. It was a very compelling case. I would just say that I had an anti-post bet on him for the Gold Cup. So that's how much I think of him. And if I was even close to being correct, he's got to be a bet in a handicap.
Okay, nice analysis there, Brendan. That's all we've got time for today, but thanks for joining us. Hope you have a really profitable Easter weekend. As always, please rate, review and subscribe wherever you're listening to us from, and I'll be back on Monday.
Paddy Power Games has over 250 of your favourites to play online, and we're going to attempt to name them all in this 10-second ad before the T's and C's kick in. There's Blackjack, 18+, begambleaware.org.